Pete Golding can make the Ole Miss defense elite if these three things happen.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm Steven Willis, a former staff member at Ole Miss and a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports. Today on the show, we talk about Pete Golding's defense and how it might look in 2024. Ole Miss needs three things for this defense to be elite. They need the stars to play like stars. That is the first thing. The JUCO signees are low-key very important for this Ole Miss defense, and they need to be an explosive unit. That's how they're constructed. Now they just have to execute. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to the everydayers who make the show what it is. And don't forget to find a second listen on the Locked On Network. You have Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC, or even Corey Burton at Locked On Vandy. They both provide different perspectives on the SEC football and potentially Ole Miss, then they can help you out. So check it out. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down and sports stop sporting the way we want them to. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, so Ole Miss is... Everybody says they're going to have a good defense. And the question that I had coming into today's show was, what does Ole Miss's defense need to do to be elite? Or even can they be elite? Whenever you see the stars that Ole Miss has on the field, the way that this defense is constructed, can this defense be next level good? That's the question. And how does that happen? And I believe that will happen if three things occur. And the first thing is probably the most important. You need your stars to play like stars. The players that you brought in, like Walter Nolen, coming in from Texas A&M, had 37 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks from the three technique defensive line position. You need him to perform. You need Umanmielen to perform. A year ago, 39 tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. You need your stars to perform like stars. You need Chris Paul to overly perform and hit his mark as well. You even need players like Chris Hardy's coming in. Princely Umanmielen is not going to be full speed probably until the SEC season starts. You need a defender to come in and be full speed, somebody that can replace or at least hold it down for Princely Umanmielen. And Chris Hardy has that ability as well to make the defense get up to speed even quicker. The stars of this defense needs to be stars. You need a situation to where Jared Ivey, the Peach Bowl MVP on the defensive side of the ball, has a solid year. J.J. Pegues becomes a disruptor because last year he was the number one option on the defensive line. This year, he's going to be like the number 3 option. Think of it like Ole Miss basketball a year ago. The number one option going into last season was always Matthew Morrell. It was always Matthew Morrell. And Matthew Morrell was probably the best player. But last season, he became the number 3 option. He was much more comfortable doing that. So I think a type of jump by J.J. Pegues is possible. These stars need to be stars. And when you look at the defensive line, that is going to be the star of the defense. When you look at Akello Stone, Xavier Harris, when you look at Kamarion Franklin coming in as the freshman class, when you look at all of these players that could perform, you have Suntarine Perkins and TJ Dudley that are going to fit in as well. The stars of this defense need to be stars. They have to show up. It can't be a situation that Ole Miss missed on Walter Nolen, that Ole Miss missed on Princely Umanmielen, that Ole Miss missed on Chris Paul. Those are the baseline of hits that Ole Miss has to go in the coaching staff this year if they want to get to the level they want to get at. When you look at the back end of that defense, and we're going to talk about this in the third segment, explosivity with that defensive line, everything is about explosivity with Trey Amos and Isaiah Hamilton. And like I said, the two JUCO players, and then Key Lawrence and Yam Banks and Trey Washington and John Saunders, all players on the back end of that defense with excellent ball skills that has a chance to hunt a little bit. It is important that the stars of this defense plays like stars. You need a season that Walter Nolen has 5 to 8 sacks. You need a season that Princely Umanmielen has 8 to 10 sacks. You need a season where Chris Paul is an all-around, all-SEC type linebacker if you want Ole Miss defensively to be elite. If that is your goal, if you want to see hardcore, impressive defense, because as far as talent on the field, this is a defensive unit that you haven't seen in 15 years at a minimum, maybe 30. So it will be interesting. This is a generational type defense that could be lining up for Ole Miss if you look at it coming like once every 15 years. If the stars play like stars, you need Chris Paul to be a leader of that defense. You need Walter Nolen and Princely Umanmielen and J.J. Pegues to be like, okay, we've got to double team 2 of these guys, but we can't double team all 3 of them. Who do we got? You need that. It's going to make your defense better. And you need Isaiah Hamilton and Trey Amos to be the ball hawks that you hope they will be. Because the whole purpose of this is the defensive line is going to be the strength of this defense. Okay? The way this defense is constructed, the defensive line will be the strength of the defense. So the quarterback is going to have less time to throw the football. They're going to cause pressure. College quarterbacks make mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes. So you want ball hawks in the back of the defense, and you want man coverage corners in the back of the defense. And those windows get smaller and smaller, and they're going to turn the quarterback over with Trey Amos, with Isaiah Hamilton, with Cedrick Beavers, with the other cornerbacks that they have on their roster as well. I forgot the name of the other one. I apologize for that. But they're in a position to be an extremely effective unit the way they're constructed. But the first thing they need is their stars to play like stars. They need Princely Umanmielen, Walter Nolen, J.J. Pegues, and Jared Ivey and Chris Paul to be absolute dudes. They do. They need a situation to where they can just handle all comers. Their front 7 is the strength of the team. They need to play like it. If they do that and force the other team to have to be cute, to force the team to rely on deception to make plays and to win the game on big plays, if they're hoping for that, they're going to win a whole lot more than they're going to lose, especially when you look at how talented offensively this team could be. Talked to Phil Steele on Tuesday. Phil Steele said the ceiling for Ole Miss is a national title. They're SEC championship contenders, and if you're an SEC championship contender, you are a contender to win the national title. Phil Steele, that's one of the preseason magazine gurus. He believes in Ole Miss. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Ole Miss hit the transfer portal very hard and brought in guys that are supposed to be stars defensively. Those stars have to play like stars. If that happens, just that, if you watch this video and the only thing that happens is the course is in this course is that the Ole Miss stars play like stars. They don't do the other 2 things. You still have a great defense and you're still going to win a ton of football games. So when you look at that, the stars playing like stars are very, very important for Ole Miss football. Thanks again for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day. Stars being stars are important because you can be a great defense just doing that. I just mentioned that. But how does Ole Miss get even better in 2024? We'll talk about that next. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit is only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume? With all of that shouting, make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you each and every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all of that screaming and shouting. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, all streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And also keep an eye on basically Locked On for 2 new channels being launched by Locked On in the Locked On NFL channel and Locked On College Sports. So yours truly will be blessing the live stream as well. So tune in for that. And also, there's still time to join the Grove Collective and help Ole Miss football be elite. You can go to thegrovecollective.com and join today. So we talked in the first segment about the stars needing to be stars for Ole Miss. And like I said, that is paramount. If Ole Miss just does that, that's the only thing they do, Ole Miss is going to have a great defense this season. The second thing, and this is where Ole Miss starts to try to make the jump from great to elite. To get there, there's a couple of things that need to happen. First of all, the JUCO players, and I know that is absolutely weird in this age of the transfer portal and high school signing. Everybody forgets about JUCO players, but this is kind of a blast from the past. 2 players from Jones County Junior College signed with Ole Miss, and Raymond Collins and Cedrick Beavers. Cedrick Beavers is a cornerback. Raymond Collins is a linebacker. And the reason I mention this is they are at 2 positions of absolute need. Real positions. If you look at their film on there, both of which move very well. They're the old style Mississippi JUCO player that ends up going to a JUCO and blows up and signs a scholarship at Ole Miss or State or Alabama. It's that story. These are 2 really good players. Now, Ole Miss has a need, and we always talk about defensively, there's not really a starting 11 anymore. There's a starting 22. So everybody's going to point to Trey Amos and Isaiah Hamilton as Ole Miss being done at the cornerback position, but that's not necessarily the case. Chris Graves on the other side, and you have Cedrick Beavers. That'll give you a 2 deep on both sides and help you in that top 22 of the roster. Cedrick Beavers is a smooth athlete at cornerback. He is a guy that I can honestly see by the end of the year starting. He in a similar path to what Fred Smoot and Tony Bridges and cornerbacks have happened over the generations into Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and all that through the JUCO ranks. This could be another example of that. He's a really good athletic player. But Isaiah Hamilton's really good. Trey Amos is really good. So it will be really interesting to see exactly how this shakes out. A really good football player. If Cedrick Beavers can be a 3 interception cornerback, just 3 picks over the course of the season as a backup. We'll just say he's backing up Isaiah Hamilton and he gets 3 picks. This Ole Miss team is going to be special. The Alabama teams under Pete Golding and before that, whenever basically Kirby Smart and Jeremy Pruitt and those were calling the shots, Alabama did you in by turning you over and pick sixing you by a fumble return for a touchdown. It could be 21-13, the score in the 4th quarter, and it looks like it's a close game. Then Alabama gets a pick 6. They score another touchdown. They end up beating you 35-13. It felt like an absolute 50-0 mauling, but it's because that defense was able to be opportunistic. So Cedrick Beavers coming in on the outside, if he can make plays, if he can fill the role, honestly, what Trey Amos did for Alabama a year ago, you have a chance to elevate this Ole Miss defense because the 4 corners that Ole Miss has, I really like them. I like Chris Graves. I like Cedrick Beavers. I like Isaiah Hamilton, and I really like Trey Amos. And because of that, and because of what the defensive line is going to be able to do, them making small windows for quarterbacks in college, which they notoriously make mistakes. They make mistakes. That's going to make it to where the ball hawks in the secondary, where people that have played corner in their career, they're playing safety. Whenever you see Jaden Kennedy and whenever you see John Saunders, Yam Banks, all of which have excellent ball skills. And now whenever you're asking a college quarterback to be very precise, it's like, hey, you need to be Drew Brees out there. All of a sudden, these safeties can eat a little bit. And Cedrick Beavers is a key so that you don't have three corners, that you have four. When you have an honest two deep, that is going to help. If he can get 3 picks over the course of the season, that dog will hunt. It will absolutely hunt. Now, the other player that Ole Miss got out of Jones County Junior College is Raymond Collins. He's a 235-pound thumping running back that can really run. He's really good instinctively around the line of scrimmage. He is a good player, and the linebacker position at Ole Miss is probably the position on the field that has the most question marks going into fall camp. Ole Miss needs Raymond Collins to be the dude and play besides Chris Pupal, because it'll make the linebackers really fast going sideline to sideline, but also having the size to be a little bit of a thumper as well. And they're just going to play off that defensive line being so good. Raymond Collins being really good, where he blitzes a little bit, gets 4 sacks. He probably has 7 TFLs. If he is in that range during the course of the season, Ole Miss's defense was very good. With that defensive line and everything going on and everybody focusing on Chris Pupal at the linebacker position, whoever the secondary linebacker, whether it's Raymond Collins or Suntaran Perkins or TJ Dudley or whoever is playing there, Tyler Banks, whoever is playing there, it's going to be important that they perform very well. And I think Raymond Collins is in good shape to do that if he picks up the defense and all of that. At 235 pounds, he can absolutely run. They can rush the quarterback. They can do whatever they want to do and be creative with it. He's a really good football player. Those 2 JUCO players, them performing, if those are the 2 of the winners and they perform at a very high level, Ole Miss's defense has a chance to incrementally go up from their previous position of just the star players being stars. You have a great defense, you move up a little bit. And now the last thing, whenever we come back, we'll let you know about that. But thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. The old school JUCO element will be massive for Ole Miss and potentially help Ole Miss to be the most explosive defense in 30 years, but they have to be explosive. You can't almost get there. We'll tell you about that in just a second. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, you get fewer and fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing the way we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep these sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up any bets anytime I'm in the mood. Maybe you want to bet on the over for Ole Miss at 9.5 wins this season, or maybe Ole Miss being minus 122 to make the college football playoff. Maybe you want to get granular with it and bet Jackson Dart at plus 1,500 to win the Heisman Trophy. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every single day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows that cover every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available in the free Fire TV channels app. Be part of history. Now, the last thing, if you want the tippity top thing, Ole Miss, the stars play like stars to make the defense great. You have the JUCO players filling the slight holes that Ole Miss has and the reason they were recruited in there. They hit on both of those. That is important. The last thing is this needs to be the most explosive defense in Ole Miss history. It has the potential. This is not a pie in the sky thing, but they have to do it. They have to execute. They need a situation to where they get 25 interceptions in the course of a year. They have turnovers, their high sack rate. A year ago, their sack rate and their red zone percentages were very good because that is the identity of Pete Golding's defense, is explosive. This goes all the way back to UTSA with Marcus Davenport and players like that, all the way through to Will Anderson at Alabama. His defense have always been explosive on the defensive line. What we need is this defense to be explosive in the back end of the defense as well. The work that the defensive line is inevitably going to do, there's always going to be tackles for loss. There's always going to be sacks. Pete Golding, when he calls a defense, he wants you in 2nd and 14. He wants you in 3rd and 12. That's what he wants. I mean, like I said, this is a very simple game. People try to overcomplicate it, but it's a very simple game. We need a situation to get them in long yardage, and all of a sudden, instead of Deshaun Gaddy against LSU dropping the interception that would have sealed the game, you need him to pick those off. And the defense needs to pick off the quarterback quite a bit to go along with the sacks and the tackles for loss and the fumbles. With the athleticism that this defense is going to have, they need to be explosive. They must be explosive. Whenever you bring in a Trey Amos and an Isaiah Hamilton, those guys are brought in with the intention of playing man defense to shrink the windows on the field for the quarterback and to make a more explosive defense. They were completely brought in because they saw what they brought in the transfer portal on the defensive line and saw the opportunity that they had on the defensive line by bringing in ball hawk defensive backs. And Ole Miss brought in ball hawk defensive backs. They're all over the field. From Isaiah Hamilton, from Trey Amos, from Chris Graves, from Cedrick Beavers, from Key Lawrence, from Lewis Moore, John Saunders, Trey Washington. They are ball hawks all over the field that have experience doing exactly what I'm talking about. Ole Miss just has to execute. Ole Miss, if they are almost getting to the quarterback, if the ball is in their hand and they're not able to pick it off, that's a problem. That's a warning sign, and we'll mention it when it's happening. But if Ole Miss can get those interceptions, if they can make those sacks, if they can be heavy up on the tackles for loss, if they can force fumbles repeatedly, all of a sudden they're going to get possessions back for the offense, and it's going to become a snowball for the opposing team. The scary thing for whoever Ole Miss is playing this year, and I don't even care if it's Georgia. It can be Georgia. But going up against this defense, if they stop your offense, there is a chance that you're going to get the ball back down 7 points more than you just gave it up. This offense has a chance to be massively explosive. This has a chance to be one of the most fun football teams in the history of college football. If this defensive explosive, if they can be ball hawks and get the ball back for that offense, you have an elite defense just for what it does to the offense, helping them out. The game, we're talking games that could be over in the first and second quarter because of the explosivity, because they were able to get the ball back quickly and they were able to score fairly quickly with their tempo and things like that. Really interesting stuff if you think about it. Like, football is a very simple game. It's an incredibly simple game. People try to overcomplicate it, but it's really simple. You have a really good defensive line. You need to set up the back end of the defense to take advantage of that really good defensive line. You need to have linebackers that can stop the run and help out the defensive line. And between those, all of a sudden, you realize that the only hope the offense could have against a fully functioning unit like that is deception, or the cornerback slips down, or something like that. And you can't win football games doing that. So if those three things happen, that's how Ole Miss gets to elite. I think it's massively important that Ole Miss football becomes an explosive defense this year. That's Pete Golding's DNA. That's the way they're taught. All of that, they're going to play that way. So if they're not doing it, they're not explosive, that's a warning sign. That means either the first thing of the stars being stars, or the second thing with the JUCO players, one of them didn't work out, maybe both of them. So we'll see exactly how it looks. I'm telling you, this defensive football team could be a lot of fun to watch. And we're going to watch Furman. We're going to watch MTSU, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, the first part of the season. And we're going to cover this team a little bit differently. I need everybody to at least understand where I'm coming from on this. If we're going into this season with Ole Miss potentially playing for a national title, from game 1 to game 12, it has to be about playing for the national title. It can't be a situation where barely beating Furman or MTSU or Georgia Southern is acceptable. So understand that. The pressure is going to be ratcheted up a little bit, but it also is not going to be, underserving. I think it would be problematic if Ole Miss, we covered this season the way we covered 2011 and 2012. I think it would be doing the players a great disservice by doing that. And we would have less fun because we're all about having fun, and a national championship would be a whole lot of fun. The odds are not good of winning it, but it's going to be fun just to compete for that, I do believe. So should be great. Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We have the most perspective surrounding Ole Miss sports, and it's one of the many reasons why we're the #1 podcast out there, Ole Miss podcast, and thank you for that. But for your second listen, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows that cover every single league. Locked On Sports Today is now available on the Free Fire TV channels app. And for those of you on YouTube, we're going to send you there right now. Howdy toddy, everyone.